All right, good morning, everybody. Good to see you all here. Jumping on into the live stream, jumping into the chat. Welcome. Most of you know what we're doing here today is the DeepPockets project live stream. But of course, we'll be taking Q&A at the end for the last half, hopefully, depending on how far we get today and how much time we spend here at the beginning talking through all the normal stuff that everybody probably ignores for the first 15 minutes because you hear me say it every time. So welcome. And good morning for those of you who are anywhere near me. Those of you halfway around the world, good afternoon, good evening. But it's morning for me here in Kansas City, Missouri. So I definitely got my coffee this morning. And I must admit, I had a little bit of a crisis this morning because I saw there was a little bit of coffee left, and I almost microwaved it, but I realized I was going to need more coffee than what was in there, and so I realized I needed to just make the coffee, pour it out, make the coffee, and I knew that doing that I would not be bullied by Mel for having any microwave coffee. So thank you for reminding me to always make fresh coffee, because this definitely tastes better than microwave coffee. and and just know that I think of you every time I make coffee now, or every time I get a pot of coffee that has coffee in it, and I wonder, should I heat this up? And then I think, what would Mel do? Mel would slap me. That's what Mel would do. So there you go. All right. So let's get into it here. Obviously, if you are watching this, if you wouldn't mind joining with the three others who already have, hit the like button. Hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, check out the subscribe button below and subscribe. So that way you're notified the next time I go live, which is usually Saturday mornings. That will change here a little bit. And then in a few weeks, just because of some travel and things like that I've got going on. Ming says, is microwave coffee an American thing? Probably, yeah. Probably because, like everything, Americans make too much at one time. That's probably the main problem. But yeah, so hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. That way you'll be notified the next time I go live or the next time I upload a video, which I'm trying to do a little bit more consistently now. I need to hit some real topics that people are angry about, like I did with that PHP one. Get the views higher. But anyway, so like, subscribe. If you're not a member of the Discord channel, check out the link below. Hopefully it's all still working. And join the Discord channel. That's where we have more interaction from the community. That's where I can hopefully be able to interact a little bit more than I have been lately. I've been wrapping up a few projects at work, and that's just kind of taken a lot more time than normally my projects will. So hopefully that'll kind of slow down a little bit as I get into some newer projects and kind of managing some other things there. So hopefully we'll have some more videos and some more interaction on the Dev Mentor Dave Discord server. So if you're not a member of the Discord server, jump into the Discord server, get a lot more interaction with other people from the community, and be able to get in contact with me a little bit more throughout the week as well as I'm available. And then, of course, if you're watching live, I'd love it if you jump into the chat and just say hello. If you're watching later, if you're watching later, always feel free to leave a comment, and I do read every comment. We're not big enough, not a big enough channel that I miss a whole lot. So sometimes if they're like buried way down in the chain, I might miss them or not get a notification or something like that. But generally, if you comment on a video, then I will see it and respond. But if you're watching live, jump into the chat and join us, join the conversation. That's a great way for you to interact with others who are watching live, but also interact with me. And if you want to ask me a question specifically, then go ahead and put at DevMentorDave at the beginning. You'll probably see somebody will do that here eventually if somebody wants to just do it as an example. But just at DevMentorDave, that usually pops up with like a notification box. It's easier for me to see when you have a question if you do that. Or if you put like some question marks or something, do something to kind of stand out a little bit on the chat if you have a question that you'd like for me to answer. Obviously, if you just have a question, you're interacting with others in the chat, you don't need to do that. Sometimes I'll read those. Thank you, Mel. Sometimes I'll read those and I'll respond to them as well. But the best thing to do is do something like Mel just did at DevMentorDave. That helps just catch my attention. Just for those of you who might be watching new, the first hour generally right now is spent on our topic, which is the DeepPockets project. And then it's been going a little bit longer than that. And then afterwards, we open it up for live Q&A. So if you have any other questions, either around the project or anything else, as a junior developer, or as a senior developer, or as a non-developer, whatever that you would like my opinion on, then feel free to ask those questions. Sometimes as we're going through the first hour, if you ask a question that's more general, I'll try to record it and answer it later on in that second half. So if you can't stay for the whole 2 hours, you can always come back and see if we answered your question if you asked it in the first hour. So, all right. I think I finally got all the welcome stuff done in the first 5 minutes. Look at that. We're getting better at this thing, maybe to some degree. All right. So let's talk through a real fast project update. So the DeepPockets project, I have a few things that I wanted to run over real quickly. Run over? That didn't sound very good. A few things I want to talk about real quickly about the project itself. Most of you probably saw in the Discord channel I posted yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, that I did fix the merge issue, as well as adding the restrictions onto the main branch, so somebody should not be able to do what was done by one who will remain nameless. And so we we'll be able to block that moving forward. So hopefully nobody can just push to main anymore. We'll do everything through PRs. So hopefully that should all be working for everybody. We are going to do a few PR reviews, I think, today. So we will merge some stuff in, hopefully, if things are good. And then we'll do that probably at the end of the first hour, because I don't think the content's going to take very long today for what we're going to be discussing. So the merge issues are fixed. We'll do some PR reviews today. One other big thing that changed, I was working on getting React added to the project, as that's going to be our front-end framework or JavaScript library. And I've been using MUI, Material UI, for a couple of different projects at work with React, and I'm just much more familiar with that. So I went ahead and decided to go with the MUI component library rather than doing everything with just strictly Tailwind. The main reason for that is familiarity for me. It allows me to be able to do PR reviews a little bit better, and I think it'll be faster for us, especially from a design standpoint as well as from a development standpoint, to have a component library that we can just pull in components and build a little bit faster. I know I'm one of those people who really talks about the need for junior developers to experience things and to struggle through things, but sometimes a project just needs to not be a struggle in certain areas, and so I think the component library is really going to help us do that. So I did look at using the Tailwind UI. I didn't want to spend the money on it, and MUI is free, so Material UI is free, so that's the direction we're going to go. So last thing on the project update, we get this done in 10 minutes. Last thing on the project update is that if you asked to receive individual tickets for the project, if you ask to receive individual tickets for the project, I need you to do two more things. One, tell me what your GitHub user is, because they don't always match with what I see in Discord. So tell me what your GitHub user is. And then two, tell me if you want backend, front end, or both. All right. So I know some of you probably are more front end people, some of you are more backend people, or maybe you just only want to try the backend to try to force yourself to think in terms of that. But let me know what your GitHub handle is, and then let me know what your preference is on front end and back end. That way I can get tickets distributed. I don't know. Get you tickets in exactly what you want to do. So, and if you want to do both, just stress yourself. Perfect. So that's everything I think from a project update standpoint. Oh, one last thing. I will do a good question, Ming. Put that in the same channel. So it's the DeepPockets code channel, I think. I don't have it up at the moment. I think it's DeepPockets code. Code channel, yeah. DeepPockets code channel. That's where you should put that information. Well, hang on. Do we do that in updates? Yeah, let's do DeepPockets code channel. Put that in there on the Discord server, and that way I can just make sure I get everybody the right type of tickets to the right users in GitHub. So that's generally important if you're going to be assigning tickets. Okay, so the last thing, I did not get a chance this week to do a video about Postman or other options. I looked at a few other options. I didn't find anything that was really awesome. So I'm still open. If anybody has a good testing tool for API endpoints, let me know what you like in the chat or leave it in a comment, and we might look at some other options. I want to do some more research before I do the video, because Postman's fine, but it's not perfect, and it can be a pain to set up. So if anybody has anything else that they're using, to be honest with you, a lot of times I typically end up using just building the front end and the back end at the same time, because I'm generally full stack. We kind of do both sides at the same time in a ticket. So unless we have separate repos, but even then sometimes we do that. And so I don't actually do a lot of testing outside of just using the browser. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I don't know. We'll see. But you can do that. So that's one way to test it, is to just build it all out and test it on the fly. All right. Ming, there should be 3. One is updates, one's suggestions, and the other one is code in the Discord channel and Discord server. Let me see if I can show you. All right, so transition over here. Boom. All right, so there should be updates, suggestions, and then code. And give me easy stuff. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know about giving you easy stuff. We'll see. We'll just see how that goes. The whole point is not to give you easy stuff. The whole point is to give you stuff that's going to make you work for it and make you earn it and make you understand and learn, right? Make you grow. That's the whole point. We got to make you grow. Okay. So I think that's everything from a getting started standpoint. As always, about 15 minutes in. Okay. Mel says, "Give me stuff that doesn't make me break the project." Well, that's on you. You just have to learn to code better so that it doesn't break the project. See, that's this. Don't put this on me. Don't put this on me. This is not my problem. All right. Okay. So today we're going to talk about web routes and React, and we've kind of covered some of this stuff a little bit already when it comes to routes, when we were talking about our API routes. And so some of this will be a little bit of a review, so I'll try to go over it pretty quickly. Hopefully it will be helpful reminders for some of you that I know were kind of struggling a little bit this last week, trying to get your mind around some of the concepts as we're moving pretty fast. Again, just as a reminder, if you're watching this, if you're kind of new to the project or something like that, when I do code, it's generally pretty comical. But when I do code, usually Sorry, I just made myself laugh. Um, when I do code, I'm not really doing it necessarily as a tutorial. There's lots of other websites that are lots of other channels that have tutorials, probably much better than me. And so I just want to put that out there. I'm not intending code that I write to be a tutorial for you guys. Um, a lot of times it's a tutorial in futility, but if you want to learn more about something or understand it better, I would suggest looking at some other tutorials either on YouTube or there's a good site if you want to pay for it. It's Laracast, I think is the name of it. I actually just recently signed up for it myself because they have lots of stuff, not just Laravel stuff. But my son, my 14-year-old, is learning to code, so I set him up with that, and he's been doing that actually a lot this week. So he's starting to understand why Dad is crazy, and he's starting to understand why Dad is tired all the time because there's a good mental load that happens when you're writing code. So, but anyway, so just as an FYI, any code that I write is not intended to be perfect. It's not intended to be a tutorial. This is how you should do it. It's more just giving examples of things that we're talking about as we're going through. Now, there might come a day where I would do some tutorials, but I don't think I'm that good of a coder, quite frankly, to do that. So, especially live. Now, see, the thing is, you guys know how bad of a developer I actually am, and it's only I kind of wonder about how I got to where I am at this point. Well, I tell you how I got to where I am. I spent 16 years as a junior developer. That's how it worked. So there you go. All right, so let's talk about web routes and React. So React will be kind of the second part. Web routes will be here first. So if you guys remember from last time, we were talking about routing, right? We're talking about how when you make a request, your browser sends a request to the server, and with Laravel, what happens, high level, what happens is that request comes into the routes, and then the route calls either a view, or it could just run its own function, or it calls a controller. There's kind of lots of different things that could happen in the route. Typically what we prefer is for, and when I say we, I mean me. Typically what I prefer is for the route to call a controller, and then the controller to interact with the model. And the model is what allows us to interact with the database for a specific entity or resource. All right. I think Laravel uses the term resource, but I kind of use entity and resource interchangeably. Think of them as objects, for lack of a better term, or just a new one. So that's kind of the process. That's the flow. And that process happens whether it's a web call, so whether you're just going to a new page on the website or the application, or it happens the same way if you're doing like an API call, an AJAX call, something like that. And so last week we talked about CRUD, right? Create, read, update, delete, or destroy in this specific case with Laravel. We talked about how to set up the API routes, how to set up the controllers, how to set up the models. And again, that flow of route, controller, model also means that you have to build those dependency wise. You have to have a model and then a controller, and then you can have a route. And we prefer to use controller based routing in our routes folder, or grouping, I should say, controller based grouping, because most of the time your routes are going to be related to a specific controller, a specific entity or resource. And so when you're writing out your API, your endpoints, right, you're going to typically make those endpoints based off of specific resources. So those controllers are kind of the way that I prefer to tend to group them. I don't always do that. It just depends on the need at the time. But we definitely are going to do that on this project. So make sure you go back and take a look at that one from last week if you want to see that a little bit more. And we'll see that a little bit here today this as well. All right, let's jump over to some code, just so you guys can have some more fun laughing at my expense this morning. and yelling at me in the chat when I forget to switch back to the code after I've moved away. I'm gonna try to be better at that. Okay, I promise. We'll see how it goes. Um, but again, as always, if you got a question, make sure you do it in such a way so that I can capture it as I go, because I can see you guys are kind of having some conversations there. So I don't want to interrupt or miss anything either way. Okay, so this is API routes. Now, just as an FYI, I did lose some stuff when I reverted everything. I had some things that I did not I did not keep. Right, so just FYI, we might be missing some things as we go through this. This is going to be less dependent on those models right now, but just so you know what's going on, that's the deal. Okay, so this is our API route. If you remember over here, we can look at all our file system. We have this routes directory, and we have API, channels, console, web. We're not going to mess with channels and console, so you can just ignore those. I'm not planning on using those for this project, but we'll just use the API route and the web routes. So again, this is for your API calls, hence the term API. And then this is for your web route. So this would be going from one page to another page in the application. So for example, we might want to go to a page that is our budget list page, but then we might want to look at a specific budget. So that budget would have a different web route, right? So we'd be passing in probably an ID or something like that. So let's take a look here. I think, do we have budget categories? Let's we don't have the API route anymore. Well, let's make an API route real fast, just to make sure it works. Controller. Okay, so this is gonna be. Is that what I want? I think that's what I want. All right, so I want. See, here we go. We're starting off great right out of the gate. Okay, so budget. And then I think it's group, if I remember correctly. And then this is just function. Okay, I think that's right. And then we'll do this. Budget categories. Let's see if we still have our controller. All right, so our controller, we still have our API controller. That's good. Let's see, index. This is probably the thing that I want here. Let's put that down. Where's my routes? Here we go. Okay. This is what I want. I think. Ming says currently Laravel is using a template for their views. They use a blade templating system. All right, so let's Laravel. Oh, nope, that's not right. We want localhost, API, budget categories. Oh no, budget category. Oh, hang on, we gotta import this. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay. So all that stuff is still in there. It's still in our database, which is good. There's our categories. Okay. So we're gonna build a web route that will give us our categories. Okay. Now we're gonna build the route first, and then we will look at some React stuff and see how that is implemented, because it's going to be different for a lot of you guys. If you guys have used React, let me know in the comment section, or let me know in the chat if you have used React or if you have not used React before. I want to see how many people this is new to as we move forward. Mel has not. All right, so Ming's an expert. Good to know. All right. Let me know if you've used it. If you have not used it, let me know if you've used another framework, just so I know what kind of reference we have. um, React with Vite. Okay, good, good. Yeah, we're using Vite here too. So, okay. All right, so about 50-50 or so. Some people have used React, some people have not. React is not necessarily my favorite. I am using it on a couple projects at work, and so I've actually kind of, I wouldn't say I've grown to like it. I've grown to get used to it. But I'll show you kind of how we implemented it here, and then you can laugh at me, or you can tell me what a great job I did, one or the other. It works either way. Okay, so let's come back up here to our HTTP controllers. And one of the things that we can do is we can make a controller manually, or if you remember, we can always come back here and make a controller using our command line. If I can find it. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to come up here to the command line. I'm going to do, remember I'm in Sail, so Sail Artisan. This might just be PHP Artisan, depending on how you're running your local environment. But it's Artisan make controller. And then if I remember correctly, I think just the name of the controller, so it would be budget category. Budget category controller? Categories controller? I don't remember if we usually do plural. We'll just do budget categories controller. I think that is it. You can add something to this. I think it's -- resource, if I remember correctly, that lets you create an API version that has all of the view stuff as well as the API methods that we typically use. But I don't want that in this one. We're going to keep these separate. All right, so this will be my web controller, and then this will be my API controller. So I like to keep those separate personally. It's the way we typically do it in the company that I work for. So, all right. Here's our budget category controller. And I thought it added more stuff than that. That's annoying. All right, so we typically would do public function index would be usually used for our list page. And then you typically do something like show for the details page, right? So if you have a details page, if you have, you can have other views that might be related to budgets as well. Let's say you, I don't know, I can't think of anything at the top of my head, but these are the two main web pages. Maybe you have one that's a view, but one that's a separate one that's like an edit as well. So those might be another one. But anyway, there's lots of things that you could do with views. Maybe you have a specific view of budget categories that includes other things that you don't want in the other views. Lots of different use cases that you could probably come up with for more functions in this controller. So, but for budget categories, we're just going to kind of do the same thing that we did for our API. Actually, no. Typically, what we do. So this is a long-standing debate, right, in the Laravel world. Well, in lots of worlds. But do we fetch the data now on the back end and push it into the view, or do we just return the view that we want to return and get all of our data via Ajax? I think generally it's going to be a mix of the two. Sometimes you want stuff coming straight from the back end. Sometimes you want to pull it all in via APIs. That's more of a philosophical, architectural decision. Generally, what I prefer is to pull data in through the APIs, because the less I do initially on the back end, the faster it will be. And Ming's already disagreeing, so that's good. But it's not that you can't or shouldn't. I think it's just a matter of what you want to do. What I would prefer for our project is generally for us to just load the view and then get the data in the view via Ajax. That allows the view to load quickly. We don't have to wait for the database, especially if you're doing if you're doing any sort of calculations on the data, that's going to slow down your initial page load. So generally, this is the route that I would go. So normally I would return a view here. So return, I forget what the syntax is. Here we go. Just view. Okay. Here we go. Return view. And we could do welcome, but we're going to actually set up a new page for this. So welcome corresponds to a view down here in our resource directory. So resource views. And a lot of times you'll have directories, subdirectories inside views to break them up based on sections of the website. Sometimes you'll have layouts or partials where you want to break certain pieces up of the application. We're not going to do that this morning, but we probably will do that as we go through. So for example, if you're building an application and you want, you have like a sidebar or you have a top navigation or something like that, that isn't necessarily going to change all the time, you might, or that is something that you only want to build once and not keep duplicating for every page. You can build those as separate view files, and then you can import those into other view or blade templates. Okay. If you want to learn more about that, go look at the Laravel Blade documentation. It's pretty straightforward. Blade has a lot of syntax to be able to interact with things programmatically as well with PHP. So it's pretty cool, but we're not going to hopefully use that a whole lot. We're going to spend most of our time using the Blade templates more as just holders for React components as we go. So we're going to make a view real quickly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the welcome blade and make a new one. Oh, come on. Stop that. All right. Copy, paste. You know, if I could click on the right things, that would make my life easier. Okay. So we're going to rename this. We're going to name this budget categories .blade.php. Blade tells it that it's a Blade template. Okay, so we come down to our Blade template here. Excuse me, budget categories.blade. Let's go back to our budget categories. We're going to change this to budget categories. Categories. All right. Hopefully I spelled that all the same. All right, so this automatically is assuming that it's a Blade file. Again, just more fun with Laravel. We're just going to return the view for now when we hit that route, and hopefully everything will work if I've got things saved. Let's do this. Let's do H1. Well, that was weird. Budget categories. All right, we'll save that. Let's see if we can actually hit that route. Now, this is the same route except without API, because obviously API is going to our API route. We want it to go to our web route. So let's see if it works. It did not. What happened? Okay. Let's see. We've got a Blade template, budget categories, .blade.php. So that should be right. We're not doing anything with the model. We're just loading. Oh, hang on. Where's our route? Might help if we actually add a web route. All right, so we could do something like this with get, which would be fine. And a lot of times, honestly, in web routes, you're not going to be using the same You're not going to be using the controller a whole lot, but I'm still going to use it just for following our convention. So route controller, we're going to pull in the class. Let's see what our class was. Budget categories controller. Nope, wrong thing. Go away. There we go. All right, so we have our class. We'll have our group. Function. Okay, so here we'll do route get, not .get, that's JavaScript. And then we'll just do /budget categories. I think this will work for web routes. I actually don't remember now that I'm thinking about it. Let's do index. Wow. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, gotta import it. I always forget that. I don't know why. There we go. All right, so there's our budget categories. That's weird. Our H1, oh, it's probably because of our CSS that we're importing. But H1 has no real nothing really going on here. Very helpful. Okay, so we have everything working now. So we've got a web route, and that web route is calling our controller, and it's calling the specific method on the controller for this. So again, index, I would typically be building some sort of list, right? So that's basically how that is set up. So that's a basic web route. And again, right now for what we're doing, I think we're going to stick with what I typically do and just have these return views. If you want to look up the syntax, you can add data. Kind of hover over this here for a second. So you can add data and other things into the view and pass it to the view file so that you can access it in the view template file. But for now, that's all we're going to do. There's more that we will do in time, but that just gives you a basic understanding of how that works. So now, just for fun, let's do this to show you how show would work. We would do something like budget category. Budget category. Something like that. We would be able to make that available here. And this is where we might want to send something into the view potentially. So we might do something like category. All right, so we're passing the ID in. So for, let's say, we come back up here and let's take a look at our blade route. We can add some PHP in here. And of course that's not formatted. Great, perfect. Okay, if well, we'll just do this. We'll just print it off. All right, no errors. Good. Okay, so we're saying if there is a category that's been passed in, then we're just going to print out the category object. Okay. Let's take a look. I think that's all set up correctly. So this is what happens when you lead dev teams and you don't write the code as often. You forget stuff. All right, so let's build another route here. So with the same controller, and this one will also be a get route, but we're gonna do budget categories, category. Now remember, oh wait, I forget now. Did I do that right? I use so many different routing structures. I think that's right. Let's check. Laravel. Route parameters. Oh, I was wrong. That's so annoying. Okay. I knew it didn't look right. Okay, and we're gonna go to show. All right, so we're gonna pass the category in. Remember the category, the parameter has to match. If you guys remember why that was such a struggle, it has to match the variable here. Okay, so let's just see if that works. Let's go back over here. Let's hit our API again and just get an ID. So one housing. Okay, so let's come back over here. Budget categories. Let's see if it works. Nope. Budget category. Oh, hang on. Budget category. Whoop. Nope. Import class. Import model. Very good. Okay. So let's try it now. Boom. There we go. Okay. So we've got budget categories. Now, if we go to just budget categories, we just get the H1, right? We just get the H1, and that's because even though these are using the same view, we're passing information in from the backend into the view, and the view can just kind of pull that information. But that's why we did a condition to make sure that we didn't throw any errors. All right. So that's real high level basics of adding views and how you can work with them. All right. So I'm going to take a look at the chat here and just see what questions we might have, and then we'll move on to React and how I have implemented React so far to this point. So let me just see what questions we have here. I will come back to, I promise. I'll remember to transition back. Let's see. Hey, Cyan Dog, good to see you. Webwords, hello. I guess I should say hi to everybody. Some people were in here earlier. So CW, Mel, Ali, Ming. I think I got. Is that everybody? I think that's everybody that's been mentioning and saying something in the chat. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Dev Dave, where do you install the context menu for add class for declaring classes? My brain is leaving me. I'm not sure what you're talking about, CW. If you can point me to documentation or something like that, or import. Oh, I meant import class context menu. Not sure what you mean. Everything that I'm using is just part of what comes with Laravel. So right click menu. Oh, gotcha. That's a good question. I don't know if that is in. Is that not part of Visual Studio? It might be part of. So I've got some extensions here. Let's see. I do have a couple of Laravel extensions that are installed. Laravel Artisan, Laravel Blade, snippets. Apparently I have a lot of them installed. I'm not exactly sure. It could just be, oh, it's probably this one, PHP namespacing. Namespace resolver, that's probably it right there. PHP namespace resolver would be my guess. I don't remember off the top of my head though, to be honest with you. Sorry, yeah, I don't know. I would assume it's probably a PHP extension and not a Laravel extension, most likely because this is a PHP functionality, not Laravel specific. So, yeah. So here, let me show you my extensions I was looking at. So I've got Laravel, Laravel Blade, snippets, Laravel Blade Spacer. Yeah, I've got lots of different Laravel ones, and then but this one I think is probably the one that's doing it. Um, would be my guess. Oh, from down here. Yep, that would be it. There you go. See, if you just look at the information in the demo, it tells you. So yeah, PHP namespace resolver is the one that's doing that. Um, it's the one that I'm apparently using that does that. There's probably others, but um, this looks like it's used a good amount. It's downloaded 1.5 million times, so that's probably a good thing. Um, I do not do a good job of keeping track of what extensions I use or have installed, to be honest with you, so I apologize. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't have it by default. That's where I think it is. Could you show us what import class does manually so we can reference back later? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Mel. Um, import. Oh, I see what you're saying. So when I click on this and I hit import class, all it's doing, if you, so I double click this, it's highlighting it. You can see up here, this is highlighted too. All it's doing is finding that class in the file that it's in, and it's grabbing the namespace from it and it's putting it up here. So for example, if I wanted to import this manually, I would have to know, so like this is not going to run um, without having, oh, hang on. Let's add an ID to it. All right, so we get an error here because it says, hey, this class does not exist, right? And if you look at this, there's something that you want to notice about this real quickly. Notice where it's trying to call the class from. So it's trying to say, hey, the budget category class, I can't find that in app HTTP controllers, right? I can't find that class here because when we look at our code, the namespace for our controller is app HTTP controller. So it's looking in this directory, this namespace. So up here, if we go app HTTP, app HTTP controllers, it's looking in this directory to find that class. And so when we try to hit it, it's going, hey, this class doesn't exist here. Budget category is not a known class in this namespace, in this directory structure. All right. And so it's throwing an error saying, I can't load this thing that you want to load. So when I do the import, it's just a faster way. And there's even a command, which I'm not good at doing these commands, but what is it? Shift option import RI, something like that. I don't know. It doesn't, maybe you have to highlight it. I don't know. That doesn't work for me. Whatever. But when I import the class here, it's basically, it's as if I'm coming up here and typing use app model or models budget category. All right. So it's like I'm importing the model myself or the class myself. And how I get that class, I go down to the model, and this starts, here's the namespace that tells us where the class can be found. All right. This allows us to be able to import stuff quickly and allows Laravel, the framework, to be able to import stuff as it's compiling. So it knows where everything is, and you don't have to add a bunch of extra stuff that we used to have to do in PHP. So this model is automatically using this stuff, and this is coming from packages. So it's Illuminate Database, Eloquent Factories package. So that would be down in the vendor section. Notice how that's grayed out. That's stuff that gets installed by Composer when you start the project. So if you ever have to install PHP packages or Composer packages, that's where those will be installed down there in the vendor directory. So in here, the namespace or where this is located is app models. And then we're going to pull in this specific class from that directory, right? So that's what importing is. It's pulling in this class from this directory. So when I come back up here to the budgets controller, the budget categories controller, I'm pulling in this class from this directory. And the highlighting here shows you that this is the directory and this is the actual class, and it matches here. So when I do that real quick import class thing, that's what it's doing. It's just saving me time, figuring out what the right path and category is if I didn't know it, and then just saves me time typing it. So it's intelligent in that way. Now, if you have multiple files that use the same class name, which you shouldn't, but sometimes people do that, then it will usually give you like suggestions of which one to import, and you can select that. But that's what it's doing. I apologize for misunderstanding what you guys are talking about there. Excuse me. Hopefully that helps you understand A, what we're doing, and then B, how you can do it a little bit more efficiently as well. All right, let's see. All right, I think that's all the questions that I had. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Cyan Dog, for pointing out that I forgot to register the route. Good job. Okay, so let's talk React. Most of you, if you've used React, let me just ask you a question. If you've used React, have you used it in a project that is kind of like a full stack project, or have you used it as a SPA, a single page application, or have you used it as like as part of like Next.js or some other like front end web framework? How if you've used React, how have you guys used it in the past? Because we are not going to be using a front end framework like Next. Okay, front end SPA. That's fairly typical. React as full stack. Okay. So if anybody has any suggestions, feel free to share them, but I will show you how we implemented React in this project. And by we, I mean me. So, and then kind of how I've got it set up so that we can hopefully use it the way that I want to use it. The other two projects that I have that are using React are actually using the Next.js framework, and they are in separate repositories. So this is a little bit of a learning curve for me as well. So there you go. Okay, so let me don't need the web route anymore. We'll just use these web routes for our examples. Okay. So all of our React components, they're JavaScript components, right? And so they will live in the resources directory and in the JavaScript directory. So resources, JS, and typically what we'll do is we'll add a components, or we might have like specific page components or things like that. It kind of depends on how we end up splitting it up. But for today, I just wanted to do a little bit of testing, kind of show you how I've implemented it, and then we can take a look at how it works and see if it makes sense. All right. Okay. So, doggone it. I was doing so well too. All right. So here's resources and then JS. And just so if you want to see where resources are in the overall hierarchy, it's on the main level of the application. All right. So we've got resources, JS, and then typically components, or we might have some pages, things like that. Okay. Now, getting React into the application, since we're not doing this through like Next or something like that kind of does a lot of stuff for us, this is how we did it. So app.jsx, there's some things that we had to do with Vite here to make sure that it handles React JSX files. You guys won't need to worry about that, hopefully. Um, but in case you wondered, that's where that is. So app.jsx, this is how we've got it set up. So I have a couple of components that I made, real simple, silly components that I made just for fun. And I imported those here. So we've got app.js, just says it's pulling in the other component, hello world. So I don't know why I got this twice, but anyway. And then this is hello world is just saying hello world with some other MUI stuff that I threw in there real fast just to have something that that shows us that we're using Material UI. All right. So those are a couple of components that we have, and I'm importing those here. I don't think I should have to do this. We'll find out here in just a second. But typically with React, the idea is that you have like one root, and that root is what loads your application, your React application, right? Since we're not going to be using React for our routing, we're just going to be using the built-in Laravel routing process for the web routes. So we needed a way to be able to call specific components, specific React components on specific pages. So what I did is I looked at how you actually set up, which honestly, this was kind of new to me. So we're learning together. But I looked at how you went about actually setting up that route, and then I tried to find a way to make it to where I could do that for different pages. So the idea here is every page would have its own root element that we would be attaching to, and then we would import that page's main component, and we would attach that page's main component to just that element. All right, so let me kind of explain how that works. So that's what this function does. This function gets a specific element based on the ID that we pass in. All right, so it's going to grab a specific element on the page. It's going to look for it. If it doesn't find it, it doesn't do anything. So that way we don't get any console errors or anything like that if the page doesn't have the element that we're trying to attach. All right, and this will load on every page load. So it'll run through this quickly on every single page load and just check and see, hey, does this element exist? If it does, boom, do it. And this would work well, especially if we've got like sidebar navigation that we want to have as a separate React app or page or group of components. So that should help with that as well. So if we want to have multiple components on the same page, multiple root components on the same page, we should be able to do that. All right. Well, I know we can because I tested it already. All right. So if that node is found, if this element is found, then we're going to create a root and we're going to render the component that we've passed in. Now, notice we've passed in a string here for the ID, right? But here we're actually passing in the actual React component as if we were calling it, all right? And when we do that, that allows it to render that component accurately. Okay, so how does this work? Well, I'm going to keep this stuff commented out here. So I'm pulling in app components app, so that's components app. And in here, I'm just importing the hello world component and I'm returning that, right? So very, very basic React functions. Here's the hello world component again, just so you can see what that is. Basically, we've got hello world. It's a H1 component using the typography MUI. Very simple components. All right. So let's see how this would actually be implemented. So I'm looking for an element with an ID of app. All right. So I need an element with an ID of app in order for component app to load on my page. All right. So let me go to my Blade template in views. I'm going to go to budget categories. All right. And here I'm going to replace this budget categories H1 with my app div. So I'm going to do div ID app. Okay. Yes. So I'm going to save that. And I didn't test it passing anything else in here. We'll just have to see. All right. Boom. Refresh. So this is that React component, as ugly as it is. That is it. All right. So that's our React component. This is our typography inside a paper, which gives us, it's elevated, so it gives us a little bit of a shadow. And that's inside of a grid. Oh, wrong thing. All right, so we can see that here. This might be really small. Hang on. All right, so here's our typography inside of a paper, inside of a grid, all that fun stuff. And all of that is inside this div ID app. All right. There you go, Ming. There's always something new to do. Yeah, it's never been so glorious. Absolutely, Mel. All right, so let's come back over to our blade template. Let's just kill this for now. That's not going to work, is it? I don't know. We'll leave it there. There we go. More than one way to skin a cat. Okay, so that is our app. Let's say we wanted to do something else, right? So let's say we wanted to add a second one here, but we don't want, let's do this. Let's leave hello world like it is. Let's change this. So in here, let's just do a box. And inside that, we'll just do, this is the app content. All right. So we're not going to import hello world anymore. App will just be a box of content, and hello world will be its normal hello world thing. Okay, so in app.js or JSX over here, we've got our app component. Now we need to add a new one and import hello world so we can do that separately. All right, so I'm going to call this ID hello. All right, ID hello. And we'll come back over here and we're going to do hello first. So div ID, div ID hello. Okay. And do we have an error? Prop spacing and code can only be used together with container prop. What? 1 second. It's complaining about something. Oh, helps if you put stuff on the right thing. Okay. There we go. There's. All right, so we've got this one loading. The question is, hello is loading. Where is... helps if you spell stuff correctly. All right. That's still not there. Hang on. Div ID, hello, and end it. There we go. All right, so we have two components loading on this page. All right. Not necessarily, Ming. I'm just making it to where I can load multiple React root applications on the same page, or on different pages, right? So let's come back to our welcome blade, and let's take a look here. I'm going to add. Let's make this just be div ID app. Can we just do this? Maybe, I don't know. All right, so div ID app is in the welcome blade, but then let's remove it from the budget category. So what I can do now is I can have different components loading on different pages, right? So when I go to the home page, I see the app content React component. But if I go to budget categories, I see the hello world. Right? That really is the main thing that I'm trying to get to. I wanted to get to where I could have different React pages or root components on different pages. So for me, that makes it easier than trying to run everything through one root component, because then you don't have to deal with the routing in React. You don't have to deal with any of that stuff. You just kind of build more basic HTML pages and add React as kind of your extra functionality. Add it as a way of bringing in like the component library and things like that from a UI standpoint. So React becomes less of the controller, less of the tail wagging the dog, and more of just a tool in this instance. So hopefully that helps. Welcome, Rajesh. Rajesh. I think I said that right. Or is it Rajesh? It's Rajesh, I think. Tell me if I'm saying that right. Welcome. Good to see you. Here's a question, Denver, today. Do we have to download something to get the JS components folder with app.js file? You'll just need to do a pull once I push this up. I've not pushed this up. In fact, I have it actually, if you look here in the terminal, you'll see I have a branch that I'm working in called React install. I will get that branch merged in later today or tomorrow or Monday or sometime. And all you'll need to do is pull down the latest version of main once I get this merged in, and then just run npm install, and you should have everything that you need to be able to do that. Yeah, exactly, man. I'm using PHP to split up my routing, so I need a different React instance for each of the different pages. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it is a weird way of doing it. It's not the way most people think of using React. But for me, I prefer to let Laravel handle all my routing, especially if I'm not using something like a front end framework like Next. I want Laravel to be the thing that does the routing typically. So that's just more personal preference. I don't think there's a right or a wrong to that. It's just the way that I think it. I feel like it flows a little bit better within Laravel to do it that way. Now, Laravel actually has something that they use for Vue and React if you want to kind of go their direction, which I don't like, honestly. I think it's just too much. It's excess stuff that just makes it not as easy to use. But I think it's called Inertia, if I remember correctly. But you can check that out if you want. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. How we've got React set up, how we're running that. Once I get that pushed in, you guys will have the ability to pull that down and see how all that works. I'll probably leave a few of these things in here that we'll remove later in the process, just so you can see the code that we were working with today. Yeah, Inertia, yeah. So if you have any questions on it as you go through it, as you play around with it, let me know. And hopefully it makes sort of sense, or it's something that you can figure out as you're going along. But always, if you have questions throughout the week, put them in the Discord channel. Somebody will answer them, most likely. Hopefully I will as I get some more time. But that's basically how we'll do this. So what we'll generally do is we'll have a pages components, and those components will obviously pull in other components as we go. And those pages components will be the only ones that we should have to load in here so that they get found when we're loading the actual blade templates. So yes, so CW, it's the next thing on my plate is to look at some PRs. So we'll take a look at those here in just a second. Any other questions on what we looked at so far with routing? Web routing and React. All right, if we have any, we'll see. Okay, so let's jump over to Yeah, hopefully it is. I mean, that was the goal, is to make it as easy as possible, especially within the framework that we have. So it's nice to hear somebody who works with React all the time tell me that my way is easy. So that makes me feel good. Okay, so let's take a look at some PRs, and we're only gonna merge one PR in. So if I don't merge your PR in for a community ticket, that doesn't mean it was bad. It just means yours didn't get picked. All right, so it's not the end of the world. But let's take a look at some pull requests. So we got 5 pull requests. This one is a ticket 1 pull request. This one is a ticket 1 pull request, ticket 1, and then ticket 2. I don't know. Is this one? I think this is you, Mel, right? Yeah, Mel already merged by mistake. Yeah. So I don't know on this one. Files changed. This one. Okay, yeah. So this one has a couple of extra files that are not bad, um, but I don't want to include them in the application. So that's the only reason I'm not gonna, or at least the main reason I'm not gonna merge this one. Mel, just FYI, just a couple extra files that are not necessary if you do the other stuff a little bit differently. So I'm going to approve, but say do not merge. Okay, so don't merge, but I will approve it because I already looked at that. Yeah, you didn't delete anything, so that's good. Um, I think, can you come up here? Whoop, stop. If you add whip, does it protect it? Huh. Maybe that's something that I have to do in the rules. Sometimes if you add whip at the beginning, some of them won't let you merge, but I don't know. Oh well. Um, so if you want to close that one, Mel, um, just so it's out of the way, that would be awesome. We're not going to merge that one in, but I think it looked fine um, for me. So let's jump back over here though. Um, did this one get updated? Let's see. 2 weeks ago. Let's look at the conversation. See comments. Oh, okay, so you rearranged these. Let's take a look at it. Excuse me. So we got 8 migration files, which is the correct number. Let's see if we see anything that automatically stands out, jumps out at me. Name, year, month. I'm not going to go back and look at the database schema. I'm just going to assume you did it correctly. Famous last words. Let's see. Because I think we looked at that already and everything was fine. It was just an order issue with the naming convention on your files. If I missed anything, somebody let me know. I think these are looking good though. Okay, so let's run it. Actually, let me save this stuff first. Oh my goodness. What is all this? Okay, that's all the stuff we raised. Okay, so let's do add, get status, just to make sure everything's in. Good. Get commit. Stashing. Let me move this down so you guys can see a little bit more clear. Yes, I like to stash things in commits. I'm not a big fan of using commit get stash. I'll do it sometimes, but I'd rather save stuff that I was working on. Git push. Oh, for crying out loud. All right, so that's in that. So let's do checkout. Oh, we're not using develop. Git checkout main. All right, so we've got main. Okay, so we're gonna pull in this PR, this branch. All right, so git checkout migrations, git pull. Okay, so one thing I want to do here is make sure I don't have any other migrations. Oh, these are yours. Okay, so I don't have anything new, I don't think. And so I've already run this before. So if I've run this before, I might have stuff in my database already. And since these are all brand new migrations, typically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a uh, sale artisan migrate, but I'm going to do colon fresh. All right, and what that will do is actually delete any of the tables in the data. Basically, deletes everything in the database and reinstalls it. So we'll see what happens. What? Oh, you don't have sale in your branch. Bummer. All right, we'll just do this. Oh, I can't because sale's not running. All right, so I'm gonna do. Nothing to update. Okay, sales there. Sale install. What? Well, let's go check the documentation. When all else fails, check the documentation. Packages. Sale. What am I missing? Oh, okay. Well, you have to actually run it the right way. That makes sense. MySQL's fine. Let it build and get things set up. Blah, 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 blah. You can do this. Any questions while we're doing this? No, I don't want to install PHP locally. Blech. I hate that. I hate installing stuff on my machine when I can just run it in Docker files. What I need to do is probably start using CRUD. Yeah, PHP is installed. You have to have it installed to be able to run some of the basic commands like this. So yes, PHP is installed, but I don't have it all set up like with MySQL and everything. Yeah, it won't run because I don't have MySQL set up and running. So all of that is in my Docker containers. So since it's all in my Docker containers, I can't run those commands. Blech. I'm not a SQLite fan. It's all right, but I'm not a fan. We'll just let this work. Actually, what I should have done is copy the Docker Compose file. What I will typically do is push the Docker Compose file to the main directory. In fact, I think it might already be there. Let me check. It just needs to get pulled in, most likely. Let's find out. Code. It is not. Doh. That's annoying. Okay. I'm going to push it in there so just so it's going to be in everybody's moving forward. So that will work. Okay. Come on, man. This thing's. You know why it's taking forever? It's taking forever because I'm streaming. I didn't think about that. Let's do this. Let's kill this and come over here and go to my branch. the React install branch because it's in there more than one way. All right, let's do this. Sail up. There we go. All right, so we've got sail running, and don't necessarily need Vite running, but we'll see. Okay. Why do I have two bashes? Oh, that's annoying. Okay, sail up. Okay, there we go. Get that running. All right, now sail, artisan, migrate, fresh. Oh, we still got an error. Let's see. Transactions table. Did I get the latest? It's already up to date. Drop the tables, creating migration table. It's dying on the transactions table. Uh, no, Mel, I won't have to do that every time. Once I push the Docker compose file to the project, I'll be able to just use it. Create transaction table. Duplicate foreign key constraint name ID. Transactions and constraint ID foreign key from account ID references accounts ID. All right. It didn't look bad to me. Let's take a look at it. Transactions table. Pull requests. This one. Files. So we're in the transactions table. This is annoying. I don't like GitHub. Okay. So budgets, budget categories, accounts, bills. Transactions table. Okay. So we're looking at the from account ID. Foreign ID, from account ID, constrained table accounts, index name. Do we not need this? Maybe we do. I don't know. From account ID. Constrained accounts. Where's the accounts table? Accounts is created first. So that's not the problem. ID, string, name. Well, that's weird. What's our error again? Duplicate foreign key. What can I do to an ID? That's weird. Well, let's look at foreign ID. Foreign ID. I guess it's really in the constrained method, isn't it? Table users, index name, post user ID. Post user ID. I think maybe, this is a good problem. I don't know what the issue is. Constrained accounts. Hmm. may also specify desired on delete. Modifiers constrained. That's really weird. I know that looks right. Let's take a look at the file. Create transactions table. Of course, it's almost the last one. Let's see. Constrain table accounts index name. I wonder. I wonder if we get rid of this, if it works. I do not know. Let's find out. Boom. Haha! Victory! All right, so that's a bug. Okay, so let me explain to you what's going on. From what I can understand, when you define the specific index, you can't define that index for other things. But if you let it assume the index, so we're telling it accounts table and telling it to assume the ID as the right column because we're not passing an index name. If you pass in an index name, that cannot be the same. All right. So, rejected. So let's take a look here. So we'll send that one back. So let's add a comment here. Don't specify the index name if it is the same in multiple indexes. So indices. Typically what I would do is I probably would not necessarily do that much research myself. This felt like something that was pretty quick that I could just figure out what the issue was and send it back to you. Usually what I will do though is say, hey, this is the error that I'm getting, and put that information in here and send it back. So I won't always figure out the problem. So most of the time I'll actually send you the error message or what I think the problem might be and kind of let you go from there as far as figuring out what the issue is. But here, A, you saw it on the screen, and B, I just felt like being a nice guy. All right. Finish your review. Request changes. All right. We'll submit that review. So close. So close. All right. Let's do this. Pull requests. I think ticket 1 did we look at this one? So this one has, why does it have so many files? That's fine. Accounts, budget categories, budgets, bills, monthly bills, budget line items, transactions, balances, budget line item. Oh, we have budget line items twice. Budget line items. Oh, this one is add name to budget line items. All right. So this one I'm going to reject, again, not because it's necessarily bad or wrong, but, well, one thing here, you definitely, if you're going to add a line item or add to a migration, you need to make sure you do a down method that removes that. All right. So I'm going to add that here. Man, someday I'm going to learn to type. All right. Technically, it would probably work because if you're deleting, well, no, I mean it might not throw an error, but it's not the right way. So I'm going to request changes. All right. So there's that one. See, I'm just so picky. I'm just a mean guy. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly, CW. Being so close is what hurts the most. But I gotta be picky to make it feel like, you guys are getting your money's worth, right? uh, okay, let's go back to pull requests. And let's see. Let's see, I've got comments on these. Two factor. That's ticket 2. I think this one is good. I think Ray updated this one. Table name updates. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Oh, something FYI. If you guys make changes to your ticket, to your PR, over here you can hit this request review button, and I think that will A, send me a notification, and then B, I think it shows up differently over here. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe do not have review. Well, I'm marked as the reviewer. I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look at this. Files changed 9. I love it when it just sends up like a blank thing. That's annoying. All right, we'll let that slide. Budgets. So the main thing with this that was left over was that this had table on the end of each of these. Everything else was fine. It was running correctly, if I remember correctly. We're just making sure we got rid of the table. All right, so let's pull this down and just test it. Again, we always want to test things before we merge it in. All right, so let's see, clear, clear. All right, so git checkout. Oh, this is where I use stash just to get rid of stuff. All right, git pull. Everything looked good. All right, so let's go look at our files here. Do I still have my Docker Compose? Yes. All right, so that sale should still be running. Okay, so let's go back over here and test. Sale artisan, migrate, fresh. Boom, everything works. The updates that I had asked for on the PR were completed. So this will be the first PR merged in to the DeepPockets project. Good job, Ray. Let's do this. Add your review. New changes. Great job. Approve. Submit review. I know he's not even here. Poor guy. We'll have to let him know. Somebody let him know in the Discord channel that his PR. Well, he should get notified that his PR was approved. And so then let's come over here. Where is the merge button? Is it down here? All right. Everybody clap. Yay, we've got our first PR going in. Here we go. Merge pull request. Oh my goodness. Confirm merge. Yes. Successfully merged and closed. All right. So now you want to make sure that you pull in the latest from main into your personal branches, right? So I'm going to switch over to main, git checkout main, and then I'm going to pull it. All right. So we have all these new things that came in, all these nice, fancy, shiny new things that came in from Ray. So files changed. blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I want to make sure I merge this into my other branch. All right, so I'm going to, I'm a little bit OCD, so I always do this again just to make sure it's working. Okay, so I'm going to get, check out React. Is it React install? I think it is. Here, let's just do this. Get branch, look at my history, React install. Okay. Boop. Git checkout. No. Git checkout, React install. What? Oh my goodness. It's the same file. Delete. What is going on here? How am I in? Oh, sorry. My brain's going. All right, git checkout. React install. Git pull. All right, now I'm going to do a merge, git merge, main. I'm just going to accept that as the merge. All right, so now I've merged main into my React install. And I'm going to push that up. So now all of that stuff from main is now in my branch. Well, I had copied it over from my other branch, so it really should have been the same. I'm not sure why it was worried about it, but whatever. Because I still have it running over here in my React install one. So it's all good. It's all good, CW. It's all right. Okay, so that should now be in my branch. So if I come over here and take a look, into the code, branch, React install, database, migrations, boom, all there. Okay, so let's do, I think we've got one more pull request. So I'm going to actually, is there a way to Can I remove your PRs? Merging is blocked. Eh. Oh, close pull. Here we go. Close pull request. Close with comment. I'm just doing this to clean it up, guys. Let's see. Same thing here. Okay. So that way we've got one PR. Let's take a look at this PR. Now this is probably going to be, lots of files. Let's see. So let's just take a look at the types of files that we have here. We've got models. So we've got accounts, bills, budget, budget category, budget line items, factories for them. That's cool. Got migrations. We've got seeders. Is that it? Okay. So we've got lots of files. Let me go back to the ticket because I think if I remember correctly, there were only specific ones that I wanted. Man, what's going on here? Okay, there we go. Project. Hey, is everyone able to see this project page now? I made some changes. I wanted to see if you guys can see these tickets still. Let me know in the comments if you guys are are able to see them. Okay, create seeders. Uh, 2 for accounts, budget, budget line items, and bills. Accounts, accounts, budgets, budget line items, budget categories, and bills. Okay, so accounts, we should have 2. Count 2, perfect. Excellent. So we're using the factory, accounts factory, right? Let's take a look at the accounts model. So the account model has factory. Good. All right, and we got the accounts factory. And that is just creating a fake name. Perfect, because that's all we have for accounts. Absolutely. Very good. All right, let's just look at the other models here real fast. This is looking pretty good, Ali. That's bill, class budget, as factory. Larger nothing, has many. Ooh, nice. Getting the relationships in there. Budget category. We haven't really talked about that a whole lot, I don't think. Budget category, got it. That's good. That's good. Table budget line items. Okay. Not really looking at these so much. Budget category belongs to budget. Yep. That's fine. Fake name. Oh, we looked at that already. All right, so this is the faker stuff. So you can fake information in these factories. For those of you that may not know, Carbon is typically how you do dates in Laravel. It's kind of the generally accepted way of handling dates and date manipulation. Budget categories. Here's our. We're gonna skip over these guys. Migrations. Okay, here's our seeder. So we're running the factory 2, count, create. Here's our bills. Okay. So another thing you could do here, I know this probably makes more sense, especially since we know the type of information that we're using. Sometimes if you're using Faker, it gives you weird stuff. So that might be why we've got specific ones here. But this is fine too. You could also use Faker if you wanted to. It just you'd have weird bill names. But so that might be a better way of doing it, honestly, just so it's uses recognizable information. One budget budget category seeder. What was our requirements for that? Oh, we didn't have any requirements for budget categories, so that's fine. Budget line item seeder. We've got our categories. So if you look here, so this one should hopefully be later in the process. So budget line item seeder should be after budgets and budget categories, which it is. So we've got budget seeder, budget category seeder, and then budget line item seeder. And it's necessary that we do them in this order so that when we run this budget seeder, where'd it go? When we run this budget seeder, our budget line item seeder, that we have the budget, we can pull that, get first, right? So we're using actual items from the database so that those relationships actually work. So this is really well done. Budget line items, we're creating those from a list. Again, you could use Faker for that, but that's perfectly fine too. This probably makes more sense for having meaningful seeded data. And then we're just pulling in the category and the budget IDs into our factory. Yeah, and we could have done this like 10 times if we wanted to and just made a bunch of them. Or 5. We could have just done 4 each, or 4 out of the 5, things like that. So for each, but you are doing it for each. So yeah, perfect. All right, cool. Actually, this all looks really good, Ali, for ticket number 2. I'm only going to have one request on it before we do it. So I'm going to do one review change. What are they called? Migrations. All right, so the one thing I'm going to ask you to do is um, pull in main so that it's up to date and it's using the migrations that we've chosen um, for that. But other than that, Ali, if you're still watching, everything else in there looked great. I just want to make sure that we're using the migrations that are part of what we've already merged in. So if you would make that update, then we can get that approved and merged in. But everything else looked really good. Hopefully, actually, let's run it. Ha! Let's run it. Let's see. I almost made a grave error. All right, let's do this. We're gonna do. I need this. Get checkout. Let's pull just to make sure we've got everything recent, which we should. And of course, I'm gonna need to make a new file. I think it's JSON, right? Let me go back over to my React install. Oh, YAML file. That's right, YAML file. Docker compose.yml. Save. All right, let's come back over here. We're still technically up and running, so it probably would be fine, but I just like to make sure. Okay, so let's do sail artisan migrate fresh, and we're going to add another flag, which is -- seed, since we have seeders now from this branch. We're going to have it automatically attempt to seed the database. And it did. Everything worked. That's awesome. So we dropped all the tables because we used fresh on the migrate. It's creating the migration table to be able to track it. And we've got all of the tables, all of our migrations ran, even though these are probably close to, but not exactly the ones that we'll have. And then all of our seeders ran with no issues. Let's check the database though. Just because the seeders say they ran doesn't mean they ran. All right, so we've got groceries. We've got bills. Okay, those came in there. Accounts. Uh-oh. Didn't we seed accounts? Dun, dun, dun. Factory seeders. Use factories that create. Did I miss it? I missed it. Hang on. Let's go back. Let's look at this. Pull request. There might be more. We got accounts and we've got accounts factories. Well, we have an account seeder. You know what it is? It's not in here. That's the problem. We didn't add it. Okay. So, new thing. See, this is why you test things. All right. Even when you're doing PR reviews. All right. We'll just add the comment. All right. So, Ali, make sure you add the accounts to the account seeder, but just for fun, we will do it here as well. If I can find what I'm looking for. Seeders, database seeder. Is it account seeder or accounts seeder? All right. Let's see. Now, notice I'm not importing this when I'm calling the class instantiation. That's a little bit different, just FYI. Okay, so save. Come back over here. Rerun it again. Boom, and we've got the account seeder, and accounts should show up. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so make those couple of changes and we should be good for ticket number 2, and everybody else can be happy that somebody else did it. So there you go. Everything ran great. Good job, Ali. Hopefully I'm matching the right people based on Ali. Okay, so that one looks great, and then we don't have any tickets in for ticket number or any PRs in for ticket number 3, probably largely because I didn't complete the ticket. So yeah, there you go. You don't think you can move things though? Let's see. You probably, well, you should be able to. Can anybody see if somebody can? Well, we're not ready for that to be moved yet. Did I move this? I don't know. I don't know. We'll do. We're gonna move this guy to rework. Yeah, there you go. It's complete if it has nothing in it. Good job, Mel. Way to go. Way to go. Good call. All right. Well, that's basically almost 2 hours of the project. There's not really a ton of time left for other things. Maybe we'll have to do another Q&A session because I think these project ones are going to probably take our 2 hours. The more I code and the more we review, that's going to take a while. But I think it's important for us to do those things. So hopefully you guys are good with that. Maybe we'll set up like a monthly Q&A live stream or something like that to make make it 4 hours. Oh my goodness. You guys over in other parts of the world, I don't that's gonna be really late for you guys. Plus, I have other things that I need to do on Saturdays too. uh, 4 hours. Oh my, good grief. All right. Well, any other questions you guys have, or whether it's about the project or just other things that you guys might have questions about, throw them out there. We got a few more minutes. We can chat. Um, if you have anything. Yeah, that's true. We might. Well, what we might do is only have like every other one be project specific. I don't know. I'm still thinking through a lot of things because I think a lot of people may not come to the live streams because they're focused on the project and they don't necessarily want to participate in it, or they're not participating in it and they don't necessarily, it doesn't interest them, right? So it might be good to change those, make those like every other week, but still have a Saturday live stream that's more general topics or more Q&A or something like that. So I'm open to suggestions. Let me know what you guys think. I know Saturday morning isn't necessarily perfect for everybody, so that could be another reason why we don't get a ton of people in here. But we're generally get around 10 or so at times during the live stream, and then obviously some people watch it later, so that helps. I'll take a look more into this project thing and see if I can figure out why you guys can't move those tickets. And I'll add some more information to the community ticket number 3 for you guys to work on. I'm not going to create a ticket for web routes yet. I'm just going to merge in that stuff, and we'll do those as we develop other tickets along the way. So there will be no community ticket for web routes. Let's see. Mel says, how long do you typically spend on reviewing? Do you have a minimum, maximum amount of time you like to spend on reviewing each request? It really varies. Obviously, the goal would be, typically you'd want the goal to be to where you don't have a lot of things in each PR to review. So I would rather have more smaller PRs, if possible, just because as a reviewer, you can tend to get lazy. Um, when you have a big PR going through everything, you probably just watch me. I mean, you watch me go through a couple of fairly large PRs. Um, and there's a lot less, uh, there's a lot less intent being made as you go through a bigger PR than there's a smaller PR. And that's just, it's kind of a reality and joke in the community as a whole. But I don't really necessarily have a specific time frame because every PR is going to be different. Every PR is going to have different issues or none, hopefully. But it also depends on who I'm doing a PR for. So if I'm doing a PR for a senior dev, I'm going to be looking for different things than I am for a junior dev. So for a senior dev, I'm going to be looking more for did they do something completely weird? Or can I pull it down and it works and I don't see anything that looks odd, right? So it's a little bit different. Whereas with a junior dev, I'm going to want to make sure that a junior dev is writing code that makes sense more than a senior dev, because a senior dev typically is going to. Now, that's not to say I haven't found bad senior dev code or written bad senior dev code, but there typically I'm gonna let stuff slide a little bit more with a senior dev than I will with a junior dev for the learning process. So it'll probably be more time spent for junior devs than for senior devs if I have junior devs on a team to review. But it's going to vary based on the size and based on the person who's doing the PR. If I know the person knows the project really well, I'll probably be a little bit more lenient. If they're the only dev on the project, they'll have a lot more leniency in what they can do from a code standpoint because they're the only one dealing with it. Yeah, we want to write good code for the next developer. That is true, but that doesn't mean it has to be perfect code, right? It doesn't have to match exactly what I think it should look like. So, so it's going to vary from one PR to another PR. Honestly, the PR review is one of those things that you have to stick into your schedule and force yourself to do it, because nobody enjoys doing PR reviews. I don't even like doing them here, but I find them helpful for you guys and necessary. So I want to make sure that we go through that process, because this is part of being a part of a team. This is part of what it's going to look like in the real world. So I want to make sure that you guys are getting as full and rich of a context and experience as you can throughout this process. So I don't have a real specific one, but it just varies. So let's see. Are individual tickets going to be replaced community tickets entirely? Because I'm afraid of individual commitment on my end. Yes, but if you would like to ask other people to participate in your individual ticket, I'm good with that as well. So an individual ticket does not have to be solely an individual ticket. You can work on other people's individual tickets. Just don't create PRs for them. If you want to just get the learning process, or if you talk to somebody else and determine, hey, I don't have time for this ticket, or I don't understand this ticket, and you need to offload it for somebody, that's fine too. Again, that is one difference between this project and a real world project is I get that we're doing this project on the side. We're doing it in such a way that people have varying time commitment and availability from week to week personally, and just comfort level too. So if you have a ticket that's assigned to you, I would ask that you try to work on it. But if you don't think you're going to get to it, I will let you know if a ticket is critical. And if you have a concern about that, CW, I will try to remember to not give you a critical ticket, like the one that has to be done before everybody else is in that current time frame. Typically, we're going to try to do these on a week-by-week basis. So if you don't get it done in 1 week, try to finish it for the next. I'm not going to be a huge stickler, again, because I want this to be a learning process more than just an application that we're developing and I'm getting free labor, right? I want it to be something that's beneficial for you in the long run. So, but if you feel like you're in a place right now where you shouldn't take on anything that's critical, let me know, and I'll do my best. If I assign you something that sounds critical, I'll just let me know, and I can maybe reassign it or something like that too. So don't feel bad. Again, please do not feel bad if you are participating in writing code and you've got to pass a ticket to somebody else because you just don't have time, or for whatever reason. Please do not feel bad. Perfectly okay. I have no problem with that. Just let me know. Hopefully we'll get this thing set up to where you guys should be able to interact with these things and even reassign them if necessary. But I'll dive into that a little bit more. I might have to find some videos or something to figure out how this stupid thing works, but we'll see. But hopefully that answers your question, CW. Uh, yeah, this is a hard question, Ming. Says from your last video or others about the junior dev job market, how can we overcome being junior dev but having a mid-level experience and skill set? Um, yeah, I mean that's the struggle, right? If you watched my most recent video, like I have grand visions, I have grand ideas that I think would be very helpful. It's not perfect and it's not going to solve it for everybody. I think that concept, that idea could be very beneficial for the community as a whole, not now, not just now, but also in the future. I think what can you do as a junior dev is less the question. Because at the end of the day, the junior dev doesn't have any control in the process. Well, I shouldn't say any. The junior dev has very little control in this process. Um, all that you can control is you. The only thing you can control is what time you spend learning, what you learn, how much you work on it, um, how you do the learning process. So are you doing it where you're going through and actually building real world stuff, or are you just doing a bunch of tutorials? Um, those are the things you can control. Now, the other side of that coin is learning how to talk about those things. So, learning how to write about those things on your resume, learning how to talk about those things um, in your interview. Um, what I would do if it were me, I would I would call yourself once you've got some basic information, once you've got some basic knowledge. I would consider yourself from a resume standpoint as a freelancer. All right, and if you want to maybe avoid some ethical issues with that, which um, I would build something small for a friend, right? As practice, build something small for a friend. Maybe even ask them to pay you, $10 for it or something like that. So you've actually done something that is a freelance job. All right, whether they use it or not, build something for somebody as a freelance job. It doesn't have to be a big project, something simple. Um, but add that section to the top of your resume of work as freelance, right? And in your freelance, you need to talk about the projects that you worked on as a freelancer. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be for pay, but this is stuff that you have worked on for other people or for yourself. You could even think of it as, hey, I'm going to build something that I might sell in the future. Um, because you need to show the thing that people want to see is experience. And so what you really want is you want to show them on that resume that you have some sort of experience. So let's say you started learning a year ago, um, and you went through a 3-month boot camp, right? Well, whatever the date was at the end of that boot camp, and when you started working on freelance stuff, that's your start date as a freelancer. Okay? That's your start date as a freelancer. And so from that point on, so you've got, 2023, June of 2023 dash present to present, right? So that shows that you are currently active writing real code for real world solutions. All right. That gives you at least something from a resume standpoint that says, hey, I have real world experience. It may not be at a specific company, but I've built real stuff for real people. And then put bullet point information about what you built, what that application did, the technology that you used in it. Um, treat what you're working on now and even the things that you're learning as freelance work. and show it as such on your resume. That will show, in my opinion, if you're writing code for anyone else, even if it's for free, even if it's, for example, let's say, I do our church's website in WordPress. That's freelance work. I don't charge them for it. Well, as a pastor, I get paid some anyway, but I'm not charging them as a web developer, right? So, and I was doing that before I came on as an elder. So I would put that on my resume as freelance work, right? So I'm a freelance web developer for this company, and this is what I did for them, right? What they're looking for is experience. And if you don't have experience with a real company, build experience by building something for somebody else. This is why I always recommend that junior developers ask other people what applications would work well to help them, even if you haven't actually even shipped it yet. Maybe it's something that you're still working on and you're still learning and building out. It's work you're doing as a freelancer, so put it in your resume as freelance work. But be able to explain what it is and connect it to the technology, connect it to what that job is looking for. And then when you go to the interview, talk about it as a freelance project. Not just what you're learning. Talk about it as if it's something that you are building for someone else, because you are. All right. Again, I'm not saying lie. I would never encourage you to lie on your resume or to lie in an interview. What I'm telling you to do is to take advantage of your learning time and get with other people and do something for them. Use them as a client. Talk about what you're doing. And if you can show work done for other people and talk about work done for other people, that gives you a better air of experience than somebody who just walks in and says, these are all my other jobs that have nothing to do with coding, and this is this is what I've been learning, and I'm a junior developer. But if you can come in and say, I'm a junior developer, but for the last 6 months or a year or 2 years, I've been working on these projects as a freelancer. This is the stuff this is the technology that I've used. These are some of the issues that I've run into and the ways that I've overcome it. Again, talking about your projects not as if they are learning projects, but talking about them and building them as freelance projects. Is it perfect experience? No, it's not perfect experience, and it's not guaranteed to help you out. But for companies that are looking for something more in their junior developers, it's at least an item on your resume that says, I've done something more professionally. And obviously, if everyone starts doing that, they'll probably start ignoring it. But my guess is, since we don't have this massive audience, you're going to probably stand out at least for a while until other people catch on to that idea. So hopefully that makes sense. But those are the only things that I can think of really that you can control and that you can do as a junior developer. Everything else is industry issues. And there's not a whole lot until we find a way to fix some of the industry issues. Some of the rest of it's just going to be, unfortunately, out of your hands. But those are the things that I would focus on personally. Let's see. Yeah, exactly, Ming. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Ming. So, full stack project for a client, which was for free for your friend. Nobody needs to know that it was for free or that it was for your friend. They're your client. You built something for them. You built a real product for them. That's a freelance project. Again, just because you do it for free, freelance free, just because you're not being paid for it, doesn't mean it's not a freelance project. Doesn't mean it's not real world experience. I think that's the thing that people get hung up on. and why, again, I recommend doing it for other people, not just yourself and your own ideas, right? Do it, work on something for someone else, because then you can use that ethically as job experience, real world experience. So I would absolutely use that, Ming. Absolutely. Mel says your premiere video reminded me. I wondered how that would work if any of you watched the premiere. I don't know if anybody watched it on time. I actually accidentally overslept. I was gonna watch it and then I overslept. Um, but if anybody watched it, I mean, was it interesting? Was it cool? Did it make Was it dumb to have something premiere? I don't know. I've never done anything with the premieres before, so let me know what you guys think of the premiere thing, if it matters. Let's see. So Mel says your premiere vid reminded me a lot of private school scholarships. Yeah, anyone can apply for a place, but they have to prove commitment first. Free quality education, a huge investment. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great analogy. It is kind of like a private school scholarship. Um, I mean, over time, like when you look at the numbers, if you could get people to participate in supporting it, like you could easily do 1,000 people, 1,000 new developers a year. Um, I don't want to spend a bunch of time rehashing that video, but I've thought about this for a long time, and at the end of the day, the only thing stopping that is the money, which obviously makes sense because that's the only thing stopping any business. But if we could find a way to get billionaires and multimillionaires to invest, uh, or to donate as a 501c3 or something like that on an annual basis. The thing is what they don't understand or may not understand is they're actually investing in their future. When you invest in a junior developer, you're investing in the future of development. And investing in something in a program like that means that you're going to be investing in something that's going to stay up to date over time. We're One of the problems with a lot of boot camps and things like that, especially anything that's totally just online, is once it's created, it's obsolete, it's old, and a lot of boot camps are teaching stuff probably that's old. Now a lot of it's foundational, and you need to learn it, you need to know it, but as you would go through a program like I'm talking about, and the more I thought about it, I think 5 years is a little long. Probably 3 years is more accurate. But as you go through that program, you are getting from point A to point B where you're not really like the mentoring is different for a 3-year dev than it is for a 0-year dev or a 1-year dev, right? So you're going to get different mentoring and be forced to learn new things and different things in year 3 than you would be in year 1. So it's a continual growth thing, and that would go with whatever's happening in the market. So we're talking about putting senior devs out of this, or at least mid-level devs out of this program that can jump into any of the marketplace at that time because we'll keep up with it. So I don't know. It's something that I think would be I think could really work if we could get buy-in from the community, really, and really buy-in from people who are willing to and have money to spend. 300 billionaires at $10 million a piece. $3 billion. We could do 1,000 new developers every year with 200 senior. I mean, we're talking about 1,200 developers a year going through this thing. That would be amazing. Anyway, I got to stop dreaming though because I don't have the time to chase down the money, and unless somebody else has that time and wants to partner with me in doing it, it's probably not going to happen. But or unless I become a billionaire, which is also not likely to happen. So there's that. All right, let's see. Mel watched it live. Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to jump on there, and I don't know if my alarm just didn't go off or whatever because I wanted to check out the chat feature. Um, so I don't know. Did the chat feature show up? Because I haven't seen anything. Oh, excuse me, seen anything. in the content. Let me see here. I don't even know where I would find that, if I would find it. I don't know. I can look at it later. Anyway, yeah, thanks for letting me know, Mel. Ollie says, now I have a little experience in Laravel. Shall I get more in Laravel and get in depth, then learn React and front end, or should I try to get them in parallel and build projects with them? That's a hard thing, Ali. I would say it depends on your comfort level. If you can do both of them at the same time, do both. But if you have one that you would prefer, then pick that one and go with that, and just let me know what tickets you want. If you want front end or back end tickets, um, if all of this is new, it really just depends on how well you think you can keep up. Maybe start with both, and if you feel like you can't keep up with that, pick one and stick to that. It's more, some people can do both just because their brains can handle it, and some people can't, and that's fine. That doesn't make some person better than another. It's just different people handling it different ways. So I would put that more on you. You tell me what's going to work best for you. And um, I would say it's hard because I would want to push you to Laravel more than React, just because Laravel has um, more applications than just React, but React is really really popular, and if you don't know it, you kind of need to know it these days just because of how popular it is. So maybe React would be the way to go, just from a pure pragmatic standpoint. But yeah. Okay, so it was active during the premiere. Good to know. Okay. Ming says, spoke to my senior dev friend, asked if my skill set and experience would definitely, I assume, get a job without a doubt before 2020. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. What the what the boot camps are putting out is what was getting a job in 2020. That's a good way of putting it. What the boot camps are putting out is what was getting a job before 2020. Now you got to have more, and we've got to find a better way of doing that, for companies and for junior devs. Um, yeah, and that's fine. If you're more confident, Ali, with the back end, you can just learn that for now. Um, there is going to be front end with Laravel too. So Laravel is a full stack framework. So you're going to get both. But if you don't want to dig too deep into the React part, that's another. That might be something that you put on the side for now. Yeah, and that's true. You should be able to build full stack. That's why I would recommend doing both. You're not going to learn either of them perfectly, no matter which one you try to choose. I mean, just watch me. I've been building in Laravel for years, and I remember some of the basics. I forget some of the basic stuff. So there's that. So, all right. It is almost 20 after our 2 hour mark. So let's see. Anything else here? I do, Mel. I do think juniors should try multiple things because at the end of the day, the more you experience, the more marketable you are. That doesn't mean you're going to be perfect at it, but the more things you have experienced and played with and understood, the more you can talk about, and the more you can put on a resume, and the more that you can be helpful to a future employer. So, I would, with the caveat that I would do it thoughtfully. Um, so I wouldn't try to learn Vue and React and Angular at the same time, right? I would try to learn two different things that work together. So in this case, I would try to learn Laravel and React at the same time because they're different. So your mind's going to be able to keep them separate most of the time. but you're still learning new things, and you're learning two new things at the same time. So that's how I would do it. I would not learn the same types of things at the same time. I would learn different things that correlate together at the same time. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna jump off here, guys. Thank you for jumping on, and hanging out with me, and saying hello, and giving me questions, and laughing at me when I make mistakes. Uh, it's all it's all good, and it's all fun, and I enjoy it. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, you guys learned something and can participate. Again, I am not creating a ticket for this week, so if you want to go back and look at the third ticket once I update it, creating the CRUD on the back end for the APIs. If you want to build in some web routes too, that's perfectly fine as well. We will build those out as we look more towards the actual individual tickets, and actually starting to build out components of this application. So we will start talking about that probably next week. There will be some slight schedule changes coming up, and I'll explain that next week as well, just with me being unavailable for a couple Saturdays here in July. So I will keep you guys updated on that and let you know what's going on with that. Again, if you're watching this later, leave a comment below. If you have any questions, I will generally see those and try to comment back. Or if you have any questions you'd like answered, jump in the Discord server, and we've got specific channels for the project, but then just regular general channels as well. Any ideas, obviously always send them my way. I'd love to hear your ideas for the channel and ways that we can do things better for you guys as junior developers, moving and progressing your career along as we go. So thanks again for hanging out with me, guys. Have a great day. Have a great evening if it's night where you are. Have a great day if it's daytime, and I will try to do the same, and we'll see you next time.